All right, after everything is dried, then we're gonna go back and use the dabbing technique that we did to make the trees. We're gonna go back and use that technique to create clouds that are not see-through and then clouds that are see-through, okay? So using your white paint, you want no water on your brush to do this, and you might want to practice this somewhere else first. Okay, here's a couple of examples. So what we don't want to do is we don't want to try to create an outline with our paintbrush. Instead, we want to create the cloud through the way that we randomly kind of tap the brush through dabbing to create a cloud shape. And then to finish the cloud, because if you look closely, the bottom of the cloud is very textured, okay? We want it to be a little more rounded. So we're gonna flip the brush around, or you can flip your paper around and put some roundedness in the bottom of that cloud. Okay. And I want you to create at least 2 clouds here on the nose. And you want to use thick paint and that is your layered technique, applying thick paint onto dry paint. Right, the glaze technique is very similar to layered in that we're going to use the same dabbing technique. We're going to still be creating clouds, but this time we're going to start with water on our brush. For the layered technique, we did not start with water on our brush. So we want a brush full of water, but we don't want so much water that the brush is dripping. So right now my brush is full of water, but it does not drip. And then I'm going to pick up my paint, and then I'm going to smush the paint into the water that's on my brush. Okay, so you can see that the bristles, we can kind of see through the bristles on the end, okay? And again, you can practice. So this is with water on my brush, and these are not. So you can see it's more thicker, textured. These are thinner clouds or further away clouds. So you can just practice a minute just to make sure it's watered down enough. I don't feel like that's watered down enough, so I'm gonna grab a little bit more water, just a tiny bit on the tip of my brush, and then it should be kind of milky. Okay. And again, we want to make 2 clouds, and we'll know when this is dry. And I can already tell that this one is thinner. It's not as thick as the layered technique. All right, you want to divide the remaining right half in half so that we can write our information and then create our technique. Okay, so for gradient number 1, it's going to fade from hue to white. So we're going to blend 2 colors together at the same time. Our hue for this is going to be blue. When you go to do your summative, you may choose any color to be your base color of the hue. So these notes are going to all be based on blue, but for your summative, you could change this to be any color from the rainbow, and that's why we're just writing hue. This is going to represent our sky. So the sky is going to be darker at the top, and then it's going to fade to almost white at the bottom. So whenever you go outside and you look at the sky, right above us, it's going to be the most pure of color. And then as you look into the distance, which is going to be further away than what is right above us, it's going to become lighter. That's called aerial perspective. And so that's what we're going to try to create right here. You're going to want to make sure that there is some newspaper or something underneath your paper. And we're going to use blue and white for this. And you have to be very quick. Okay, so we're going to take a chunk of blue and we're going to paint about 3/4 of this box blue. Okay, and we want it to have thick paint because we want it not to dry. We need both the two colors we're going to paint, we need them both to stay wet at the same time so they can blend and mix into each other. So I'm going to very, very quickly clean my brush. And then I'm going to grab a chunk of white paint and put it down here at the bottom. Okay, and if you hold your brush more straight up and down and sweep back and forth, I'm gonna pick up original object. And so instead of reflecting pure white, we're going to reflect a light tint. So remember our tint from our color theory notes, a tint is hue added to white, or white added to a hue. And so we need this to be kind of like this color up here, this color next to white, the lightest blue we can get. That's what we want to be up at the top, and then fade it to pure blue. So again, I'm going to start with my blue, but I'm going to start it at the bottom. And I'm going to fade it up about 3/4 of the way. Quickly sweeping side to side. Clean my brush. Grab my white. Okay. Grab a little bit more. All right, and then I'm going to start fading into blue.